What's a huge red flag when meeting new people? A guy at work always tells new people how much he hates being married. Apparently loves his wife but hates being married. Then goes on to say she doesn't let him drink because he becomes a nightmare to be with, pretty sure he drank in excess on a regular basis, and that she will divorce him if she catches him. The dude still drinks and drives home to his wife. He keeps a toothbrush and toothpaste in a bag that he hides in a bush near his house so that she can't smell alcohol on his breath. Found out all of this after speaking with him for 5 minutes. Apparently it's the same story with everyone. I have a coworker who has 3 kids with his significant other and they aren't married. He says marriage is the leading cause of divorce. Well, he's not wrong. They immediately talk shit about a stranger. I went to a meetup recently and got some drinks with the people after. One guy gave me a bad vibe. He seemed like he had a really low tolerance for other people messing up and being a little awkward. He was like, yeah, I was a little bit nervous about going to the meetup, but then I realized that there are some really ducking weird people and there's no reason to be nervous. Just sat wrong with me because I'm kind of awkward and just want to meet new people. The last straw was when we were playing pool at the bar and this one girl had something wrong with her voice and couldn't talk very loud, so he actually asked her if that's how her voice always was or there's something wrong with it. What a douchebag. He invited me to watch football with him the next day, lol. I didn't respond. They're proud, calling themselves jerks. Two-faced and other very questionable qualities. I'm brutally honest. I once met a girl who told me she'd stabbed her ex-partner and didn't believe in human rights, all within about 5 minutes. So would you share some red flags you noticed in her? Feeling worse after meeting them than you did before. Sometimes the person just seems off. But you can't put a finger on what exactly. Over time, you realize that your gut instinct was correct. Care to give an example? Sounds like it happened to you. I've had it happen a few times when starting a new job. Your manager takes you around the workplace and introduces you to everyone. Even though everyone will shake your hand and say, "Great to meet you," there is usually a person or two that you just get a negative vibe from. Over time, you discover that person is difficult to work with. Not always the case, but it seems to apply the vast majority of the time. You barely know them but suddenly you are their best friend. Everyone else is just awful. You are so special and awesome. Especially at listening to their many problems. Because you are so empathetic and smart and insightful. Don't run. Sprint. Edit. Okay guys. There's a 666 in the middle of my upvote count. Yup. I hate that. To add to this, they expect you to start spending all of your free time with them and get mad at you if you don't. It's like they want to make themselves an important part of your life, but the relationship isn't strong enough to warrant that level of interaction. Yes. I was really close with this woman I worked with. She was a bit older than me, 17 years older, but she was always down for a good time. I started dating my now husband, who also worked with us. And she pitched a fit because she ate lunch by herself for a few days and said I wasn't being attentive enough to her. Also said I'm just that girl who gets a boyfriend and neglects everything else. Such a slap in the face considering I broke plans with him several times to do shit for her. Such as picking up her stepdaughter an hour away at 1 a.m. when she got back from a school trip. And an emergency phone call at 11 p.m. when her son got violent with her wife's kid. Anytime she needed anything, I was there. I did more for her than I would do for most people. And I'm an asshole because I went out to lunch with my boyfriend a few times. Get ducked. He clearly made the right decision considering I'm married to the man now. When everything is about them. Why would you post this about me? If they make plans with you and they cancel later because they got a better offer. I dumped a friend of 10 years for constantly pulling shit like this. It really shitty to always feel like you aren't good enough. She ended up getting mad at me for not bringing it up sooner. All the more reason to cut ties. More specific to dating. But if someone always plays the victim in their other relationships, e.g. calling all their exes crazy. If they describe 1 to 2 people. Okay, maybe they had bad taste or got unlucky. If everyone they dated was crazy, then they should probably look in the mirror. On a related note, I always watch out for people who introduce others badly. If the first thing you say about people is, OMG this person looks funny, or, they're a itch, I'm going to wonder how they'll think and talk about me to others. Ooh this. I've had some poor taste in partners in the past. Like severely abusive. And they were exactly like this. All their exes were crazy. Insane. Horrible bitches. Nothing good to say about any of them. Finally learned the hard way they were exactly that. Always look out for the two sheds, those people who can't go for 5 minutes without one-upping someone else. Not gentlemanly empathizing and sharing their experiences. But taking the whole, that's nothing, listen to my story route. Two sheds? When they engage more about themselves than contribute to the conversation. I've met a few people who would talk all the problems they've had and would hardly ask any questions back. I've always felt so uncomfortable in these scenarios and usually don't pursue in a relationship with these types of people. Edit, some people made very good points about individuals with ADHD. I should be more clear on my point by saying that some people are also very dismissive and sometimes refuse to hear what you have to say by cutting you off. I don't expect an interview from the other person. But it would be nice to have mutual interest in each other. Yeah, and they interrupt you to turn the conversation back to focus on themselves every time you speak. If they start talking about their MLM, multi-level marketing, scheme. They see you as a prospect, not a friend. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's an inverted funnel. Gets angry over the smallest thing. The cashier shorted you $1 when giving change? Mistakes happen. Doesn't mean she was trying to scam you. When a guy has absolutely nothing to say other than overly romantic, sexual stuff. Or your possible future together. Right after meeting. It's creepy and you don't even get to know each other better cause there's no conversation happening. God, this happens to me all the time on dates. Some guys just have nothing else to say besides flirting and sexual comments and I just wanna know your favorite ducking color. God ducking, damn it. A huge red flag is usually a sign of communism. We were thinking the same, comrade. My ex told me early on in the relationship that she had an incest fantasy. That should have been the first red flag, but I didn't take it seriously at first and thought she was joking until I caught her cheating on me with her blood-related cousin. WTF. I don't know if it's a red flag. But I opened a new friend's fridge and there were 5 mostly empty jumbo-sized jars of mayo. Like 12 2-liters of generic soda. And a load of damp hot dogs just kinda sitting on a plate like they were waiting for something. Ominously. I took a peek in his freezer and there were about 50 banquet pot pies. Stacked all the way to the door. They were all sausage and gravy. I bought one the next time I was shopping and I've got to say. They're not terrible. Anyway. I'll update you guys if I get slathered in mayo and murdered. It's a red flag when you invite someone new over to your house for the first time and they're already snooping around in your freezer. I met a guy in the US earlier this year and after hello, he literally said, I'm a venture capitalist and I just made $10 million from a company that Google bought out. He then started banging on about Google basically giving them money to go away. To be honest, I sympathized with Google. Caveat, it might have been Facebook or Microsoft. I stopped listening pretty quickly. They keep interrupting or continue to use a shortened version of my name after specifically telling them not to. I hate it when they do that too, Jinx. Have you ever wanted to be your own boss? Do you want to earn some extra income? Reminds me of a conversation I had on a bus recently. Are you interested in being your own boss and running your own business? Oh gosh, no. The look of confusion on his face was priceless. I don't like being in charge, too much pressure that I'll mess it up for other people. If they harshly criticize you for making a mistake, it's fine to be annoyed with someone for making a mistake. But it's not okay to bully them over it. I was called a retard once as a teenager by a so-called friend, because I bought her the wrong item for her birthday present. I remember feeling like the most stupidest person on the planet. Edit, okay guys. I'm aware I've made a grammar boo-boo. Knew a guy with a tattoo that read, duck you. Pay me. That's a little off-putting. Work with a guy that has, stay down, tattooed across his knuckles. Just awful people. Hey, my friend has ducked this on his knuckles and he's a great guy. He's currently in jail. Treating waitstaff poorly. Or anyone in a customer service job. Really. Or, you know, anyone. My father likes to say that a true measure of a man is how he treats the little guy. Anybody that agrees with me outright on anything we talk about. It's boring and probably fake. I mean, there's no way you also believe that Sasuke is always out if Chakra BC he masturbates too much. Doesn't listen. Always talking about himself. Leaving their rubbish on restaurant tables or cinemas floors. Being mean to their friends. Being on their phone the whole time or constantly pushing their opinions onto you. They always forget their wallet. They volley their work jargon to you as a power move. The "why are you so quiet?" people. Like, I*just* met you Linda. I hate that question. Especially when it's asked by someone I'm not very interested in talking to, which is usually when I'm quiet. Here is a list from my experience. A. Bragging about the good deeds they do all the time. They are doing this to portray themselves as good people. B. Treating strangers rudely for no reason, cashiers, waitstaff, custodians, non-workers etc. C. Talking about sexual things with you when you just met. This means they have no boundaries, social skills and are probably into deviant stuff. D. Catcalling, whistling at women, men. Same as C. E. Overly opinionated and militaristic about something. This can be in connection with religion, atheism, political party, veganism, etc. These types of people are aggressive in other areas of life and hard to get along because they think they are always right. If they quickly become enamored or shower you with too much praise before getting to know you. Especially if they put on a much too intense display of love and affection. I don't mean flirting. I mean declaring their love or emotional affection. Or being overly generous. This can be a red flag warning of someone who is abusive. Either as a relationship or even as a friend. Abusive people at first, and usually for the first few months or even a year, can be extremely charming and pour affection onto you. But the facade will start to slip. It'll be subtle at first. But then their effort to make you happy will gradually slip away to nothing and you'll be treated quite poorly by them. They may still on rarer occasions be nice again. But this is to stop you from leaving them and they'll be right back to their bad behavior. The effort at first is to obtain you. Then they turn more self-centered and reveal they care little for your needs once they have you, so to speak. This isn't always the case, but it is something to keep a close eye on and not allow them to manipulate you if their care turns out to be a facade. And always remember the golden rule. Live with someone for 6 months before getting engaged to marry them. Edit. Thank you for the medals and for all the karma. I'm heartbroken to see how many of you have experienced this kind of emotional abuse. And I too learned the hard way. I hope others can learn from this and avoid the pain we experienced. Sending everyone who connects with this message some invisible hugs and platonic love. You never deserve to be treated that way. You are worthy of genuine love and care. Had a cab driver yesterday afternoon who kept commenting on every school girl with a short skirt. So, that I guess. Having a photo of yourself and only yourself as your background picture. I get that for the lock screen so that if you lose the phone someone could use it to find the owner. They don't bother to have a fluid back and forth interaction with you. I met a dude at a party with my husband and this dude only answered questions we asked about him and asked nothing about our interests. At first we thought he was shy, but he got pretty detaily about his music interests. We got the heck out of there because we didn't feel like listening to his my show. The sad thing is that it sounds a lot like me. An introvert who sucks at communicating. I like to talk about music since it's one of my few interests that's probably worth talking about. If you meet them and they're ranting and raving about their itch of a girlfriend. They're backstabbing friends. And how the whole world is doing them dirty. Sure, they might be having a bad day and are venting, but in my experience, people who openly and eagerly vent that stuff to strangers in public are usually much more at fault than they care to let on and cause a lot of drama. People who talk about all the people they know and how many friends they have. Met a lady recently who was nice but just kept talking about how she has so many friends and is always meeting her friends and is so busy with how many people she knows. Like, look lady, I get it. But where are your friends now? Inconsistency. Maybe they are super charming towards the senior staff but rude to juniors. Maybe they are really charming and helpful to you but rude to serving staff. Maybe they say they like all the same things that you do, but when you probe them on a topic all you get is superficial answers. There are lots of ways someone can show inconsistency, but it usually means that they want you, or someone, to think they are a certain kind of person when it's not who they really are. When they ask very personal, probing questions, expecting you to trust them completely when you barely know them. They ask if you live alone. I always just get vague about this if I don't know the person. I once met a guy while waiting for a bus. Apparently he noticed me since we go to the same college, or whatever amata korkea equals to. College is close enough, but we studied in completely different fields. Some small talk. Yada yada. And he starts asking where I live. I give him a vague area. Sure, because if he gets into the bus with me and depending on where he goes, I could get caught in a lie. So vague area is good enough. He then asks if I live alone. Out of nowhere. I luckily have an engagement ring, despite my fiancée living far away because of her own studies. So I just showed it to him, not actually making any comment towards the question. He answers, "Ah, married," and continued to stay silent for the rest of the wait.